Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Mythgard in Middle-earth. My name is Corey Olson, the Tolkien Professor, joined as always by my friend Gryfflet, who is sitting here on a barrel, or really what looks like a hogshead, technically, and staring over the haunted fields of Parth Celebrant here. Super interested to be looking at the Parth Celebrant quest series here, where we've just been getting down to the fringes of it, having done a great deal of the Great River content so far here. But I'm really interested at their choices with Parth Celebrant. Not surprising, of course, that they would choose to make a lot out of that, as it's a really big deal. But it's a really cool example of one of the whole approaches of LOTRO to adaptation, right? Instead of just following the actual events of the narrative of the Lord of the Rings, when the events of that narrative takes the story sort of through this region, right? This region is so important. The story, the battle at Parth Celebrant, and of course the coming of Eorl the Young looms so large. It's such a hugely important thing that you can see them kind of imagining this in a couple different ways, right? And working it into the game, therefore, in a couple of different ways. One is by working it into the cultural imagination of this region, since, of course, in doing the subcreation that they're doing for LOTRO, they're not just doing an adaptation of the story itself. They're doing an adaptational development of the entire world, right? They have to think, okay, we know how important the ride of Eorl the Young is to the Rohirrim, right? It's not only the day one of the mark, right, of their kingdom, but it's also this sort of defining moment. I mean, remember, it's a defining moment for their culture as well. Eorl the Young is sort of the archetypal man of Rohan, essentially, and held as the sort of model, right? And so his action, when Theoden recapitulates when Theoden recapitulates his action by going to Gondor, it's a huge deal, right? He was a great king and he fulfilled his oaths, right? And which means he was like Eorl the Young, right? So anyway, all kinds of reasons why the ride of Eorl the Young would be of massive importance for Rohirric culture, and so therefore there is every reason to think that they would be very interested in the field of Parth Celebrant, right? And so having some time focused here on this area, we wouldn't just have like a monument and then move on, right? There would be a lot more going on down here. So their choice to go all the way sort of to the edge, right, and have a bunch of ghosts down here. So this is one of those things that I find, like, it's not plausible in one sense, right? I mean, the Oathbreakers are kind of a one-off as far as we know. We don't really have any other examples of anything like that. And so, this is the third set of Oathbreakers we've encountered so far, right? We had the ones up in the North Downs, which were the original ones from a LOTRO point of view, not, of course, from a Lord of the Rings point of view. And then we had another set of Oathbreakers, essentially. Not Gondorian Oathbreakers, but or Númenorian Oathbreakers, but we had another set of Oathbreakers up in Dunland, right in southern Dunland in the Lich Bluffs, and now we're getting a third set of Oathbreakers down here at Parth Celebrant, and we and then, of course, we'll get the original, real Oathbreakers down at the Paths of the Dead, and in northwestern Gondor there. So, on the one hand, the mere multiplication of Oathbreakers is, a bit of a strain, right? There's no reason to think that there were Oathbreakers all over the place, and that this kind of, haunting by the spirits of the dead was in any way common across Middle-earth like this. But at the same time, I can always forgive this kind of thing. Just like, I was talking about this, I don't know, when was I talking about this? I can't even remember. But at some point recently, I was talking about the spiders in the Shire in the same way, right? Okay, yeah, like, no, there aren't going to be giant spiders in the Shire. I mean, that's just impractical, improbable in every single way. And yet, granting to LOTRO the fundamental premise, right? The fundamental premise being we need mobs in the Shire, right? I can totally get behind the choice of giant spiders, right? Because, giant spiders, it's a hobbity thing. So it sort of shows some attention to the spirit of the book, not in the sense of like saying, well, according to the spirit of the book, according to what we know of the Shire, this is the number one kind of enemy most likely to be found in the Shire. Because of course it's not, right? But again, thematically, hobbits fighting spiders is a thing, right? We get that with Bilbo. And so therefore, as a kind of homage to Bilbo, it works for me. It kind of makes sense. So too here, I can understand they need to proliferate mobs. They need enemies to fight, and so we have the unquiet dead in lots of different places, right? I get that, and at least they do make a pretty good effort to sort of make a story that makes sense, and to make a story which sort of fits within the kind of thematic sphere of the original Oathbreakers story, right? I quite liked the Oathbreakers story up in the North Downs when I first encountered it. The idea that this was attached to the downfall of Fornost, right? I thought that was pretty neat. And the one here is interesting too. We'll be exploring it as we get there. To me, the question is always, the most important question is not, is this in the book? The question is, does this fit with the book, right? Are there ways in which the story that they're developing, because they're developing a new story here, right? Their storyline here around Parth Celebrant, both in the terms of the storyline that the PC follows while going through this area, and in the sense of the larger sort of story of Parth Celebrant that they have fleshed out based on what we know of the past and sort of what has happened in Parth Celebrant since then. That whole sort of larger story that they're making up. Does that story fit? Does it work? Does it feel like a sort of a violation of, the stories of Middle-earth? Is it in harmony with the rest of Tolkien's stories? For me, that's the really important question, right? Yeah, exactly, Phil. The question is this in the spirit of the book? Not, is this spirit in the book, right? That exactly. That's the difference. Okay, yeah. So Thorallor is asking if I've ever found an instance where LOTRO's choices have not fit with the book, some sort of egregiously lore-breaking things. Really very few. I mean, you can quibble about honestly, probably the biggest issue is one I've just mentioned recently, like the whole premise of having a combat-based game as a Middle-earth game. Like that's kind of probably the biggest challenge, honestly. I'm willing to accept. I know that, some purists have had issues with some of their character classes, especially with Runekeeper and Loremaster, and even theoretically, potentially with Bjorning. I don't have a real problem with that, with any of those. Again, I think they do a good enough job of sort of naturalizing those things within the world of Middle-earth, using the terminology of Middle-earth, trying to think it through. Again, if you're going to have a magic user, essentially, sort of like the Runekeeper is, they've done a really good job of not just like, having a mage using Dungeons and Dragons spells with like a thin veneer of Middle-earth vocabulary over it, right? That's not how they do it. They've been much more sort of thoughtful all the way down. And, runekeepers, minstrels, lore masters. Those are all things like the runes and sort of the study of ancient lore and the power of song. Those are all things in Tolkien, right? And so again, I've always felt that pretty well works. Yeah, AJ or ALJ, yes, ALJ Bookworm. I agree. The Earthkin have always been one of my little pet peeves as well. You could argue that they're not exact. I mean, they're not in the. There's no hint of anything like that. You could argue that they're not completely lore breaking. The idea of there being some kind of giantish figure it's not like that's 100% alien to Tolkien's world, but it's one of the most egregious kinds of additions where you don't have even again, giant spiders in the Shire doesn't happen, right? Ghosts in Parth Celebrant here, no reason to think that happens, and yet again, at least those things, giant spiders, ghosts, right, those are things that are in Tolkien, right? The Earthkin, there's less justification for them. It's one of the most kind of whole cloth inventions of the LOTRO world. So I agree that I'm not a big fan of those. Yeah. So Gnagarwina, I agree. We just need to put a little bit more effort into making the Earthkin fit, right? I'm sure we can figure it out if we spend a little more time with it. Harnuth, I agree. Like going around and singing songs to kill animals from a distance on the landscape, that's not really Tolkien's. But again, to me, the most fundamental issue is the fundamental premise, right? The concept that, the point of what you're doing is going around and killing lots of things, and that's how you gain XP and develop as a person, as measured by the quantity of things that you've slaughtered. That's not Tolkien's world, right? But again, that's kind of part of the fundamental premise of the so to say we're doing an RPG like this is to sort of assume that, in a sense, almost in the same way that you make certain assumptions when you say I'm writing a novel, right? So I'm sort of over that. To me, that's like a barrier to entry in a sense, right? And I can certainly see how it would be a barrier to entry, and yet I am perfectly comfortable having entered, right, to look past that and sort of move within the world. But anyway, okay, yeah, no, and exactly, Dalruin, as you're suggesting, the power of song, again, it's a big thing, right? I like the minstrel class in general. Where am I going? Gryfflet is running randomly around. I like the minstrel class in general. The concept seems to me sound. They've really done a good job of thinking through in terms of the different traits and thinking about how those work. I like the minstrel class. I like how it works, and certainly song, very important, very powerful in Tolkien's world. And yet, there's no question that people don't behave that way, right, in Tolkien's world. But anyhow, yeah. Harnuth, I agree. It would be a fun project someday to imagine a sort of a completely different non-combat game mechanism that would really work well for a game this size. I absolutely agree. I can't blame, Turbine as was from. I can't blame them for. I should say, I can't blame them for sort of using this mechanism, right? Because this was the model, that people were able to connect with, that people had any understanding of how it worked, right? So it makes sense. Anyhow, okay. I love the Kuthstan. I see the Kuthstan off in the distance. Like every time I come across that in the Great River, I come on like a different angle where I'm like seeing the Kuthstan against the horizon from afar. It never stops being cool, right? I absolutely love that. Well, Druid's Fire, yeah, there's a call for tourist mode, but that's different, right? Yes, it would be great to have tourist mode. That is to be able to create a character who will never aggro anything, can't do anything, but will just go around, so that you can just wander and see Middle-earth. But that's different, right? I'm talking about a game mechanism by which like you would gain XP and your character would progress in a non-combat based way, where it is not based on killing things. Now I know like you get quests and stuff, but what we're talking about here is not really something that I think is possible for LOTRO, right? It would be simply like the creation of a completely new game, essentially. I mean, which would be fun, right? But whatever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Ethelod, I see you trying to bait me into talking about Shadows of Mordor, but it is not going to work. Okay. Cool. Let's get moving. Started off talking about things here, and now we're going to get ready to explore Parth Celebrant. And okay, one of my personal pet peeves, item drop quests. Hate that. You went to my loot at the end of last time. Now, you remember how last time we were doing the wolf stuff up to the north of here, and I was like, I have a feeling I'm missing something, right? And then I open up my loot at the end of the stream last time, and I've got like 45 versions of the like quest item, that I got in my loot box. Hate that. So anyway, I got to go burn. So they're diseased. I learned from the drop item that I got that the wolves were diseased, which now I want to like see if I can find out more about this. What disease do the wolves have? How is that connected with the story? I want to know. Anyway, we'll see. When I get a chance, when I wander up in that direction, I'll go back to the wolves, but I want to move along with the ghosts here today. All right. What do we have here? Idmar. Okay. You'd hoped it wouldn't come to this. What, getting help from me? Parth Celebrant has been overrun by Oathbreakers. Ran into one of them, but we have no idea who they are or why they have returned. Okay, so they've returned recently. That's really interesting. So this has not been a haunted place, which separates it from everything, right? Everything that we know about the long-term haunting of the Paths of the Dead, of course, from the book. We know that Fornost, right, has been haunted for Kuhn's Age, right? I mean, when we're up there, we can see the whole place is all blasted and dead and everything. And of course, even Butterbur. And again, this is another one of those moments, right? I always tip my cap to the developers when they do stuff like this, right? Because, of course, they didn't make up the fact that there are ghosts in Fornost, right? Totally didn't make that. You remember the textual... It's in the book, right? You remember the justification for it? There is a textual justification for ghosts in the North Downs. Does anybody remember? For ghosts near Fornost, right? Actual reference, not even in the appendices. It is in the text of The Lord of the Rings. Bonus to anybody who can remember the quote from The Lord of the Rings. Zach, you got it. Yes, it was Butterbur. You remember it? It's a comment by Butterbur, which completely justifies it. Yeah. Exactly. Dead Man's Dyke, that's haunted land, that is, Gnagarwina. Exactly. In The Return of the King, when Gandalf is telling them about how, the king has returned and is gonna, set up his kingdom up away by Dead Man's Dyke, as Barlam and Butterbur says, that's haunted land, he says. So, probably it wasn't actually haunted, right? That doesn't mean that the place had like ghosts crawling all over it at all times. But again, the concept of haunting being associated with Fornost, right, and that whole region is there in the book. So again, they're so good at this. The developers are so good at finding something like that and running with it, right? Being like, okay, like we've got, give me this much and we can make something of that. Or rather, again, since we have to choose something, since we have to make a story, we have to put mobs there, right? We have to make a story on the North Downs. They're going to choose to make the story, to develop the story out of those references, rather than just like doing something totally random and unconnected whenever possible. Yeah, very good. Yeah, cool. Oh, hey, Maven, good to see you here today. Sorry, yeah. So, and Rosie, I think you were asking earlier why some film was canceled today. It was postponed. It's my fault. I had conflicts. It's my kids. Blame it on my kids, as always. Parenting issues. Now, my kid's school, I had to, both dropping him off and picking him up from school were both within the film window today. So we just postponed. We're going to do this week's film next week. And then, so the next 3 film episodes will be on February 1st, which is next Friday, and then the 15th, which is 2 Fridays after that, and then on the 22nd, 1 week after that. So then we'll be back to our original schedule. It's kind of complicated, but this is one of the reasons why we do film every 2 weeks, so that we can shift around when we need to. All right. Okay. Anyway, sorry. So here I'm still reading Idmar's. Oh, right. Because Oathbreakers not being there all the time. Okay. So apparently if what was I going to say? Oh yeah. If it seemed to Maven give me a hard time for canceling today. I know. Totally my fault. If Butterbur still associates Fornost with haunting, right, then, okay, like you're going to say those ghosts have been there stably, right, since the time of the fall of Fornost. So fine. We know, again, the Paths of the Dead. In the Lich Bluffs, right, that's obviously haunted territory as well. And you can see the same kind of blight, or just a similar kind of blight over the land, at least in part, right, in the Lich Bluffs that we get in Fornost. Not exactly the same. But again, it has the look of haunted land. When we look around here, right, this just doesn't look like haunted land, right? Haunted land usually not covered with lovely purple flowers like this. So, yeah, interesting to learn from Idmar that this is a recent outbreak of Oathbreakers, which is kind of cool. Okay, so yeah, why have they returned? Who are they and why have they returned? That'll be good to find out. These spirits only appeared here days ago, and my men and I were sent to investigate. The folk of Standgard were not informed. Oh dear. Yeah, we've got a horde of ghosts just down, a little bit away from the town. Might want to investigate that. Okay. Head to the north and east. One of your men, Medwina, is scouting them out. Speak with him and see if I can find out who these spirits truly are. Sure. I can already tell you who they are, because we were looking at them, and I'm pretty sure we saw a Gondorian tree on the one that was attacking us. So I have a shrewd suspicion that these are ghosts. These are Gondorian ghosts, which of course separates them very, very much, obviously, from the ghosts in the Paths of the Dead, who are the spirits of the men who failed to serve Gondor, at least who failed in their alliance to Gondor. Here we have apparently Gondorian Oathbreakers, which is different thing. Brew, I agree. If you have an outbreak of Oathbreakers, you should probably consult your physician. But that's basically the role that Gryfflet is playing here today. Okay. Tell me your symptoms, Idmar. Gryfflet is here to help. This won't hurt a bit. It's certain that these Oathbreakers are a danger to the people of Standgard. Sure, yeah, they seem pretty hostile. Okay, these spirits are lost and confused. The best we can offer them is a swift return to rest. Well, okay. That's a method, I guess. They've appeared all across the field. Okay. I can't afford word of this situation reaching Standgard or worse, Edoras. So am I involved in a cover-up activity here? I mean, maybe they'd be interested to know about this. Maybe like antiquaries in Edoras would be super interested to find out what's going on here. I don't know. But is there a topical cream for that, Phil? I don't think so. I think you might have to actually take something orally for that, but I can't be completely sure. Okay. All right. So, what am I meant to be doing? Oh, I'm also meant to be sifting through debris. Right. Yes, for the epic quest. You know, that epic quest line, which I haven't done in, I don't know what, months now? As I've been too busy gallivanting about the Great River. Where am I? There I am. Which ones are the... Okay, those are the red ones. All right. I'm going to head up to find what's-his-face. What's his name? Medwin... Med... something or other. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so we've got brigands, Celebrant brigands, and I think I was looking at them, and we didn't see anything particularly distinctive about them that would indicate where they came from, whether they were Rohirrim who have kind of gone bad. Ow, shoot, you turned around just as I was creeping up on you. That's annoying. I was wanting to look at your belt buckle, man. Oh, yeah, it's a... Looks like it... Is it got horns? Yeah, I think it's some kind of a skull with maybe horns. Yeah, I looked at that before. It's the only symbol I can see on any of his clothing. How about his boots? Those are just buckles and things. Heavily bearded. Remarkably heavily bearded. Much more hirsute than the brigands up in Evendim. Yeah, he's not blonde. I was thinking the same thing, Phil. But anything on his pauldrons there? I don't think so. Trying to see him from the top here. No. Yeah, no designs, really. Just kind of patterns. If I stand close enough to you, you stop attacking me? Oh, there you go. I thought maybe we'd come to a peaceful resolution of this conflict, Mr. Celebrant Brigand. But I guess not. Fine. Okay. Right, where was I going? This way, up in the general direction of the wolves, and also the... wait, over here. Who's over here? Wait, what's there? Oh, yeah, that... Is this where the dude is? Did they cosmetically change the branches? Was that an upgrade? I don't remember birch branches looking like that. 'Cause that looks like a log of birch, you know? I don't remember the birch branches looking like a log of birch before. Is that new? Every time I turn around, things look cooler. Okay. Yeah, I did, Jesse. I think it looks new. Hang on, where am I going? Oh, in this little dell down here? No. Oh, look, there's a guy. There's some... Maybe it's... No, just this wolf. Where am I meant to be heading? Oh, well, let's just follow. There's the Oathbreaker champions. I'm meant to kill some of them. Here, let's just confirm my Oathbreaker diagnosis here. So... Okay, from the back, nothing remarkable. From the front, I'm going to finish doing your buffing thing. Oh, wow. That was pretty boss what you just did. So I'm pretty sure that's a... Too glowy, man. Too glowy. See, I think it's the Tree of Gondor right there. Looks a little wispy, though. Right? Looks like a Tree of Gondor that's been heavily pruned. Like somebody really got at that thing. Trying to get a little... There. Ooh, that was almost good. Yeah, I don't know why... Why it's shaped like that. Is it just the overlapping plates of the armor? Yeah, it is. Okay, so it's a full white tree underneath with the overlapping armor plates on top. Okay, all right, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't know why he would, you know, be having issues there like that. Okay, All right, Gryfflet. So where am I going? This is like right here. Where is he? Wasn't I supposed to like liaise with somebody? Isn't that the verb? It's a super awkward verb, isn't it? I'm supposed to, meet up? No? Okay. I guess I can... Where's the guy? The scout. Is he so stealthy I can't see him? Oh well. Let's see, let's practice my striking from stealth thing. And... Oh, hang on. He walked away from me. That was rude. Yeah. 1,400. That was not terrible. All right. There's a couple champions. Ooh, 6,500. Oh, man. I really housed that guy. Oh, Gryfflet, that wasn't even fair. I'm loving my strike from stealth buffs. Okay. Well, there's a brigand. I don't need any brigands. Taking screenshots would be a far less painful, a far more painless method of examining the mobs. Oh, come on, but that's not fun. See, I like to be able to see them in action, because I might miss something, right, from a different angle. No. No, really the best method is just to stand there and examine them while they're, beating the stuffing out of you. Really, I recommend it. Okay, so I'm meant to set fire to wolves? Okay, but not that one, apparently. All right, so I'm going to burn the diseased wolf corpses in order to prevent the spread of contagion. There it is. Yes, it's been ravaged. Okay. All right, let's see. Can I burn it without... No, it was a little close, but... Hey, look, but I set fire before you got to me, man. Okay. Oop, wrong button. Okay. All right. Oh. Wrong button again. Oh, well. Okay. So wait, I'm sorry, I missed it. Did we ever establish is in fact the birch logs, do they get upgraded? Yeah. Okay, oh man. So many wolves. Let's see. Well, they're just going to stay here, aren't they? No point in sparing them. Okay. So while I'm fighting wolves, let me... oh, there you are. Over here. Let me answer another question. I'm going to go back. So this is a question that actually came in. So by the way, we decided I'm going to do this. Sometimes I get, bunches of random Tolkien lore questions that come in through other like social media outlets and stuff like that. I get them sometimes in some fairly random places. And, I was talking to some of our Signum folks, including Phil here, last week. And we were deciding that really, the Gryfflet stream is really the best time. It's like the one time when I have like no other particular agenda and I'm just, well, I mean, I do, I'm looking at the game and everything, but as far as from a teaching point of view, answering random questions is kind of like one of the things I do here. So, I thought it might be cool to, and sort of fun to just sort of channel a bunch of my lore questions through into here when I get them in other places. So here's one, for instance, that came in through my Facebook page, concerning which I am fairly derelict. I I'm not a huge Facebook fan. Harder to check on my phone. That's my problem, really. But anyway, oh look, a backpack. That's just not a corpse I need to burn. Where are the rest of the corpses? Am I getting warmer? No, there's some more up here. Oh, there's one. Okay. So here's one that came in through my Facebook page. It says, okay, so I have two things to say about this. It's from a Vince Hernley. He says, I've read the Lord of the Rings trilogy nearly every year since I purchased my first copy in my high school book fair in 1983. That's pretty cool. You cheat occasionally and listen to the audiobook. Now, let me stop you right there. Listening to the audiobook is not cheating. In fact, we were talking about this at TextMoot, actually. One of the really interesting points. So at TextMoot, the whole theme of the conference was oral culture and audio stuff. In which, of course, as you probably know, I'm pretty interested. During one of our discussions where we were talking about reading and oral culture and things like that, we're having a really fun conversation. And Paul Peterson, who's actually one of our Signum faculties, one of our old Norse and Germanic philology instructors, was making the very excellent point that, in fact, when you look in almost every European language, the word for read, the modern word for read, is derived from a word that means like speaking. The word bears testimony to the roots of the whole reading. Like reading was a communal thing, right? It was a thing that you did. You always read out loud, even when you were alone. You read out loud usually, and you read in groups. Like you would gather to read things. Linguistically speaking, the whole concept of reading is linked, as is still plain in our languages, still linked to speaking. In English, for instance, the word read, of course, as you may know, in Anglo-Saxon, and this is, of course, I say you may know because Tolkien uses the word read in the old sense, right, in the sense of counsel, right, of sort of taking counsel together. That is, like to have your read. So it's counsel or advice. So again, like reading meant like getting together and hearing things out and talking them out. Anyway, this is as much as to say, reading, the fundamental concept of reading, has always been a communal thing, and it has its deepest roots in oral culture. The concept that reading is only something that one does by oneself silently with one's eyes is actually a very recent and quite an unusual thing. All right, I need to get out this way. Okay. So I take great exception whenever anybody suggests that listening to a book read aloud is not really reading or doesn't count as reading. It absolutely counts as reading. The question really is whether you can count reading something merely with your eyes and alone as an actual reading experience, right? One could better question that than one could question the audiobook version. So Vince, my first comment is that when you are listening to the audiobook, you are not cheating. Instead, you are partaking of like a more nuanced experience of the book than you get when you are just reading with your eyes. So, don't make any apologies for that.
What brings you to these
Okay.
lands?
Oh, Phil, that's a really interesting thing. When Aristor says, "Who will read this riddle for us?" Yeah, that's a really interesting glimpse into Tolkien using the word. You can hear clearly the more ancient roots of the meaning and significance of that word "read" in that context. Right? That's a really wonderful example. Yeah, cool. Okay, let's see. The wolves have become very dangerous. A disease would make them even more of a threat. That's it? No speculations about where the disease came from? Did I find any loot that is... No. Just a dead end, huh? Wait, oh, so they just randomly got a disease? That's a little disappointing. Oh, well. Anyway, where am I meant to find... Let me go back and try to scout the shadows where I think I'm supposed to be finding that guy. Yeah. Okay. So, anyway, so let me get back to the rest of Vince's question. I didn't even read the rest of it. Okay. Okay. When I have listened while following along in the book, I note that Rob Inglis, who reads, of course, the unabridged Lord of the Rings reading, will often use a contraction rather than what is normally written in full. For example, he just noticed that while the text reads, "and yet I am not sure," Mr. Inglis reads, "and yet I'm not sure." Could I enlighten him on why this is? Is he using a different text? Was this a personal choice? Is the reading of the words as written more fluid than my perfectionist mind has been led to believe? Great question. I mean, I think, the basic answer to this question, the sort of essential answer to this question is personal choice. I mean, at the end of the day, Rob Inglis is an actor, right, who is reading the lines. And there are not really liberties that he might take some very small liberties, and he makes occasional mistakes, especially in his voices. There's one error that he makes, which always kind of, well, I admit it kind of makes, actually, I'm just going to cut through here. No reason to go straight there. It always kind of makes me smile. He makes what I think is the most significant mistake Rob Inglis made in reading the unabridged Lord of the Rings. When he is reading the Oath of Allegiance that Pippin takes to Denethor, right? When he swears to become a man of Gondor, Rob Inglis reads Pippin's oath, right? And he reads it in Pippin's voice. And then there's another section without a dialogue tag. There's another segment which is clearly the response by Denethor, right? And this do I hear, right, is how it begins. But Inglis reads it still in Pippin's voice, and it's clearly Denethor speaking there. And this do I hear, the Lord and Steward of the Realm, is not Pippin speaking anymore. Anyway, it's, whatever. It's fine. I've discovered the field of Celebrant. Hooray! Same armor? Same armor. Same device. Okay. Anyhow, so he makes mistakes. They're not... Oh, wait. We're hiding. Hang on. I love it when that happens. I waited longer. Okay. Cool. So back to your question. So again, first answer, he's an actor, right? He's an actor delivering the line. His primary job is to read it well and deliver the lines. And so sometimes he does, he might do that. The other thing that I would say, though, I don't recall any examples. There might be some, perhaps, but I don't recall any examples of Inglis making like a really egregious change through contractions. Something like, changing, we have done so to like, we've done so, right? That's a significant stylistic change, right? Keep in mind, like, there's a reason for contractions, right? And the reason for contractions is that those words tend to align together. I'm is a great example, right? I mean, there's a lot of fairly fine shades between I am, what's the one? I am not sure, right? Between I am not sure and I'm not sure on the other hand, and like I am not sure in the middle, or I am not sure. Again, like they kind of like, there's really a spectrum. It's not, that's a good example, I think, of a contraction that when you read it out loud, rarely is it one. I mean, unless you're going to say this in a sentence where the beat really needs to be where that needs to be a 2-syllable thing. Like if it's a poem, for instance, it becomes instantly a big deal, right? Because then you definitely want and need that syllable. But even otherwise, like if it could be a significant stylistic change to make them into a contraction. But I don't like when Inglis sort of elides those there. I don't hear a major stylistic difference there. So, in my mind, it's not exactly I don't think it's sort of a major. It's certainly, if it is his own sort of personal discretion as he's trying to act out the lines, it seems to me very pardonable. And I can't recall, maybe there are some, but I can't recall any instances where it seems to me like he really changes the register or significantly changes the import of the line based on those contractions. But anyway, that's a really interesting question. Speaking of really interesting, what we have here is remnants of the actual Battle of Celebrant, which seems unlikely, but that's okay. They are in armor, which is not of Gondor. Never seen Gondorian armor quite that spiky before, right? The belt, though it has no design on it, the belt and the sort of loincloth business that's hanging down from that, again, certainly doesn't look Gondorian. He's got no boots, but they probably rotted away. Though his loincloth didn't. His boots have rotted away. His loins have rotted away, but his loincloth hasn't. But that's fine. Nor of the arrows which surround them. Okay, sorry, I'm just looking at the... Yeah. Is that a crown? Does it really look like a helmet? Would it have had perhaps a leather dome, which is rotted away? But of course, the really interesting thing to me here is that I noticed these swords sitting around, like such as a Dunlending might find one and pick it up conceivably and hand it down eventually to his sister. Yeah, that's not nearly so nice a sword. But what interests me is what these ghosts are occupied with, right? This Oathbreaker champion is he's not just haunting, right? He's not just looking around for somebody to give a bad time to. He's fighting, right? This is a dude who is still engaged in combat, and given the fact that this is happening around these, long rotted corpses, and he's a Gondorian dude, and they seem to be non-Gondorian dudes. My conclusion, therefore, is that he is still reliving the battle, which is interesting. Leading to the question, of course, wherein did his oath-breaking consist? Exactly. Anyway, let's see. Let's see what else we can find around here. Okay. Oh, there's our little donjon, and there's the Kuthstan in the distance. Nice rich Kalinar deposit. Oh, darn it. Gryfflet, you're behind on your craft egg. As is no surprise. Okay, all right. Woohoo, loot. Okay. Oh, hang on. Whoa. Dude. There's a skull nailed to this tree with a sword? I'm trying to measure. What I'm trying to figure out is, was this skull left there as like a message or a sign? Or is this just somebody who took a sword through the face into the tree and then the rest of his body decayed and his head stayed? I'm thinking it's too tall, right? Yeah, I know Gryfflet is short, but I don't think that... Maybe I can lure one of them over here. Hang on, I need to measure. Let's see, where's the champion? The archers won't follow me. Hey, champion, come here. Come here. Yeah, you. That's right. Come over here. I want to measure you against this skull. You following? Oh, no, hang on. Now, this is no fair, actually, because you're floating. So your head is on the... Would you stand up straight? Thank you. Your head is on the same level as that dude, but you're floating above the ground. So that's cheating. That is totally cheating. I can't imagine that the dude who used to own that skull was hovering 3 feet above the ground when this happened. So the fact that his head is only on that level while he's hovering above the ground leads me to believe that, yeah, that was probably just nailed to the tree with that sword after death. Okay, thank you, Mr. Oathbreaker. Wasn't there something near here? Yes, there is. I was supposed to search somewhere for something. Sifting through debris. Anyone remember why I'm sifting through debris? Horn sent me to sift through debris. Gosh, that was ages ago. It could be like a much more sort of metal version of what happened to Rabidash the Ridiculous, right? At the end of The Horse and His Boy, right? Like where somebody could have been like leaping up and then took a sword straight through the face into the tree and he was suspended there. Can't rule that out. Would be pretty boss if that's in fact what happened, but it seems, statistically speaking, unlikely. Ooh, Zach, that's a good idea. I'll have to see. I don't know if I could draw a brigand this whole way. Especially not without kiting like half a dozen Oathbreakers along with him. But anyway, sorry. So I'm looking for, I'm supposed to sift. I should start the sifting process. Here, stealth yourself, Gryfflet. Ooh. I two-shotted that guy. That's not bad. I completed Strike from the Shadows? Seriously? Whoa. No way. I completed a class deed? Land critical blows with skills that benefit from what? Stealth. Okay. How many of the... I've done that 400 times? Good grief. That's amazing. Gryfflet, you are a bad, bad hobbit. What's the next one? Oh, I see. Mass confusion and trickster, huh? I don't know that that's going to happen, but... Yeah, class deeds. Man, that is seriously hardcore. Hey, Kiriana. Okay. Oh, the skull is taller than Kiriana. You measured yourself against the skull? Okay, hang on. Kiriana, come over here. Let's see. I want to see how much taller. Where to go? Where's my tree? Okay, here's the tree. All right. Okay, let's see. Now, Kiriana's an elf. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so people who are not hovering off the ground. Yeah. I was going to say it's head and shoulders above you, but it's not. It's just head above you. Okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. So it's conceivable this could have been an enormously and unusually tall person, right? This could be the skull of the, the minute bull of the Easterlings or something, but probably not. Thank you, Kiriana. It's very helpful. All right, but anyway, I was meant to sift through things somewhere, maybe near this corpse or something. Oh, wait, there's a marked location right over there. Got it. Marked location. Okay. Heading to the marked location. How many more of these guys are... I think this is my last champion. There we go. Whoa! Hey, come on, Windows. Seriously. That's obnoxious. Yikes. Okay. Oh, I thought that guy was attacking me, but no, he's just attacking the air like they do. Ooh, what is this marked by? Is this a pile of rubble? Ooh, it is. Look at that. Pottery. Who brought, like, their China collection to the battle? One of these guys, apparently. Or maybe that's how they marked the location. Okay, a number of arrowheads. All right, sure. I can see a bunch of arrows as well, so. All right, that was good. I got more up here. I do need some more archers. Can I pick an Oathbreaker's pocket? What an excellent question. I have never tried to pick an incorporeal pocket before. I should, at least I don't remember doing so. I should probably try to do so. Let's see, Ghost, he's facing me. I want to try to see if I can get around behind him. Oh. Oh, no, it's Contact Peddler. Where's my pickpocket? Oh, there it is. Right? Burgle. Ineffective against that target. Yeah. It reminds me of the, Pippin's comment about the riders with invisible noses, right? In Chapter 3 of the Fellowship of the Ring, these guys don't have invisible noses. They have invisible pockets. That's a shame. Okay, champion, another archer over here. Yeah, well, Ethelot, I think his knees might be mighty despite the fact that he seems to be visibly kneeless. And yet, I don't think his knee can be nearly as... I mean, the Witch King's knees are really above and beyond, I mean, like, not everybody has knees as mighty as the Witch King. Oh, man, I'll never forget that. I tweeted about this when I was at Baymoot in San Francisco, and that guy gave a talk about his tattoos, and his tattoo artist came and spoke on his Tolkien tattoos, which were awesome, just amazing. The tattoo that he had of the attack of the Ents on Isengard that went around his rib cage was like just about the coolest tattoo I've ever seen. But anyway, but I still can't get over the fact that he had a tattoo of Merry stabbing the Witch King in the back of the knee on the back of his knee, right? I mean, that's you can't get better than that. That's really, you just have to. Okay, hang on, what do we got? Nothing? Oh, come on. You just can't do better than that. Okay. Yeah. Oh, man. Melindrian, I really like the Dresden Files. Yeah. One of my favorite modern series. I really like Butcher's stuff. Rosie, no, sorry, that didn't get streamed. That was one of our local events. That is how the local events go. Where am I going? Is that I think that's the camp it's pointing me towards. I need to go over here. And did I kill enough archers? I did. Okay. So I think I can unstealth myself, which is great. Make a little bit better time and head straight over towards, see if I can find that scout who's supposed to be figuring out who these guys are and what they're doing. Okay. Yeah, I know I can adjust that. I'm just frankly too lazy to do that. Okay, so this way. Stealth oneself, walk right through the brigand, and head towards... There we go. I'm on a direct line to the quest destination. We're looking... I don't see any Rohirrim in the bushes. Oh, aha! Aha. He appeared when I got close enough. Hey there, Medwina. Medwina? Really? Interesting. Okay. Okay, Triano, I do have further news about Sunshine Moot. So registration for Sunshine Moot should be open very soon, like within the next few days, actually. So if you check back, like by Monday, I would hope at the latest, on signumuniversity.org, you should see a link for the Sunshine Moot page. We are, yeah. So it is almost released. It's going to be on the 23rd of March. Yeah. So definitely registration should be open for that soon. It's going to be cool.
Mission is dire.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. So I'm coming, and there's also going to be 2 other speakers, one musician and one artist. So we're going to be looking at like at arts and adaptation and stuff. It's going to be really cool. And there is news on Nadermoot as well, Ethelod. We are also releasing the registration for Nadermoot on almost the same day. So the date on Nadermoot in the Netherlands is April 13th, and so that will be the registration will be open for that very, very soon. So, yep, that's definitely happening in Leiden on the 13th, and it's going to be awesome. The theme of that conference is translation. So we're partnering with the Dutch Tolkien Society as well. So that's going to be really fun. Anyway, sorry, Midwinter, I'm leaving you hanging here. Let's see, Idmar sent us. Yeah, we have little time for introductions. Okay, sure, right, great. I had hard enough time finding you. You and another scout, oh dear, were sent to observe the shades and discover their origins. You think you've found ourselves out of position. The Oathbreakers are needlessly violent. I like that. They're needlessly violent? Okay, I like that phrase. I was chased away this morning when I moved closer. They wear a white tree. I noticed that too. How can that be? Well, I have some theories, right? Well, okay, Medwin, since you asked, how that could be. So obviously, they're soldiers of Gondor, right? And if they're wearing the white tree, this shows that they're not like, these are clearly soldiers of Gondor itself, like during the middle of its reign. So, almost certainly, right? This is Parth Celebrant, for crying out loud, right? There's no reason to think that any dead or formerly dead or mostly dead Gondorian soldier in Parth Celebrant is not connected to the Battle of Celebrant, right? I mean, that's kind of pretty unlikely. So, presumably, these must be the ghosts of Gondorian soldiers who fought in the Battle of Parth Celebrant. Now, Medwina, since you asked, since they are Oathbreakers, what that suggests is that they must have failed in their charge to some significant extent, right? And of course, what do we know about the Battle of Celebrant? Well, we know a bunch of things, but one of the things that we know about the Battle of Parth Celebrant is that the Gondorians were losing, right? Gondor was in the midst of losing that battle when Eorl the Young came and pulled their biscuits out of the fire. So, anyway, that's that leaves an opportunity for us to imagine that there was some cause for the failure of the Gondorian forces, right? There's some reason why they were losing this battle that led them to have to be saved to the last second by Eorl the Young. So, we'll see if we learn more, Midwinter, but we can put some things together here, right? But they're Oathbreakers specifically. And yet, here's the confounding variable, Midwinter. They are fighting, like still in death. Their shades are still fighting, apparently, the enemy. So you'd think if they were Gondorian soldiers who had broken an oath, they would have turned sides or something, right? I mean, that would have been oath breaking, right? If they were actually traitors to the Gondorian cause. If they weren't traitors to the Gondorian cause, then why would they not, why would they how would they be Oathbreakers if they're not traitors to the Gondorian cause? And yet why would they be still apparently fighting the Easterlings in death if they were traitors? So I'm trying to sort of suss that out, Medwin, and I have to admit to being a little bit disappointed because Idmar sent me to you hoping that you had learned more things and could tell me, but apparently I know a bunch more about this than you do, Medwin. But it's okay. Maybe together we can figure out even more. Okay. So you want me to scout the camps so we can... What? Oh, you want me to count invisible noses? Okay.
The Rohirrim have need of your services.
Every attempt you've made to converse has ended in violence. All right. I've had days like that, man. They must have committed some sort of treacherous crime. See, now that's good thinking, Medwina. Elsewise, they would not have returned. You're absolutely correct. Most have nothing coherent to say, but you've heard the whispers of 3 names. Melithron, Thinas, and Kamlan. Kamlan is a particularly interesting name. Perhaps they might have insight as to why their men have returned. I've never been able to get close enough to speak to them, so I'll probably have to fight my way to them. Great. Okay. Melithron first. I've got Melithron, and I have to scout. I've got more debris sifting to do still. Okay, never mind. Scout the Oathbreaker camp to the east and to the west. Sure. Right. Okay. Great. But, like, Melindred... What's his name? Melithron. Yeah. Melithron is to the north, so let's go find Melithron. Melithron sounds vaguely like a transformer, I have to admit. Okay. Yeah. Whoop. Well, hey, there he is. Are you very scary? Nah. Hi there, Melithron. And hey, you're not aggroing me, which is fantastic, because that gives me a better chance to look at your gear. Oh, look at that helmet. Oh, that is a classic Gondorian helmet. Do you have wings on the side of your helmet by any chance? No, sort of. It's just that kind of, like, beetled sort of visor thing that Gondorians have. No, that's a classic. That looks just like the helmet that Isildur used to wear. You know, in some of those instances. Okay, hang on. What's on the front of your skirt? Okay, alright. Yeah, this won't hurt a bit. Okay. And you're carrying a hammer, right? No marks on it that I can see. Alright. Cool. Another why will you not leave us be? Another what? His face contorts into a rage. What am I another of? Surely it can't be another hobbit. The might of Gondor shall fall upon me? Hey, I mean, you know, I'm an ally over here, but... Oh. Man. Gryfflet feels kind of like Inigo Montoya today. If I do him with my right, it's over too quickly. Okay, I barely started talking to Melithron. Okay, so that was Melithron, and there's the other dude, what's his name? Thinas is down to the south of me here. Okay. As is, I guess, one of their other camps, maybe? Let's head in that direction. Okay. Didn't you say east and west of you here? So shouldn't I be looking this way? Is there a camp over there? No. No, there's flat nothing down there. Okay, Medwina. Not so good with cardinal points of the direction either. Cardinal points of the compass. You're going to call him Megatron from now on? Melindrian, that's totally what it sounded like to me. Okay. Oh, there looks like another... Do they all stay in, like, these little craters? I guess they do. Man, look at that nice Gondorian ruin. A moderate-sized group of Oathbreakers. It's a very scientific account. I guess if you have invisible noses, you can't really have your noses counted. Oh, he said east and west of Idmar's camp. Okay, Phil, thank you. I was worrying about our friend Medwina here. Maybe he'd been out on his own a little too long there. Do you think they created the craters? Maybe. I mean, when you look at it, there are all these corpses around still. He's still... So they're still... Are you going to do a Gondorian battle cry to us? Ooh, Captain of the Eastern Front. Question about... Excuse me, how did you become cursed, and why are you still only mostly dead? We did not think anyone would find out, but Lord Kyrian did. Oh, okay. And he made certain we would never forget what we had done. Excellent. Do I seek to torment you more? No. I'm just trying to figure out why you're here now. Like, what happened to prompt you to return is my really burning question. But I'm seeing, okay, Lord Kyrian made certain we would never forget what we had done. You see why that's so important, right? There is no hope for us, only agony. Well, gosh, I'm real sorry to hear that. Anyway, yeah, so you understand why I'm excited about the news about Kyrian, right? Because it shows, once again, and totally unsurprisingly, that the developers are doing a great job reading the text, right? Because, of course, and I think we've talked about this before, Oathbreakers, it's not just like a natural law. Like, it's not something that just happens automatically. Like, you break an oath, you die, you come back as a ghost. It doth follow us the night to day. That's not how Oathbreaker things work. It is the power of Isildur's curse that keeps their spirits there. He declares that they shall become Oathbreakers. Until they do... Until he does, they're not gonna, and he has to be satisfied. That is why it is so important for Aragorn himself to release them. Right? They can't. They don't just have to fulfill their another creator. They don't just have to fulfill their oath. He has to release them, because he is the heir of Isildur, so he has the authority to release them from the oath that they have taken. Did I not hit the magic spot that... Is this not the camp? I thought that hole in the ground must be the camp, but I think it's not. Ethelod, will I be bringing the Mythgard shop to Nadermoot? I sure will. I'm going to be bringing my moot case, in which I bring along my Mythgard Insignia merch. Absolutely. I think we might only be able to do cash sales at Nadermoot, because I don't know if I'll be able to take credit card payments internationally. I'll have to do some research into that. And I have no idea how to remit sales tax and stuff internationally. It might be way more complicated than I am able to do. It's sufficiently complicated just in America. But anyway, yes, that's all totally happening. Gnagarwina is wondering, does this mean that Faramir would have to pardon these Oathbreakers? I suspect that Aragorn would have the authority to do it too. Hi, Mr. Champion, seeing if I get any credit for going in this particular hole. I don't think so. I think we're leaving the radius here. Yeah, it's somewhat... I hate it when this happens. I hate it when you just have to walk on the right, square in the game and I'm missing it. Where? Anyway, okay. Oh, here? This is the spot? A white tree adorning the garb? Oh, come on! I'd noticed that already. Let's see, where's the other guy? Another guy is around the corner here, next to this big rock, next to the tree with the skull. Where is he? Where is he? What's his name? Kamlan. whose name is not quite like Camlost, but close. One of Baron's names. Ooh. No helm, huh? Hang on, I'm trying to look at your sword, man. Would you stop turning around? Anyway, okay. I've invaded our lands. Well, no, I haven't. I mean, I'm visiting. Visiting! One hobbit is hardly an invasion, and slaughtered my men. Yes, that's true. The frivolity of your charge is matched only by your force. What charge have I made? The fate that befell us is ours alone to face. Of my charge, like in the sense of charging in among you? Or, I've made no charge against you, sir. What right have I to dishonor the dead? I'm not trying to dishonor the dead. What else did you say? Oh, nothing? Okay. Fine. All right, Camlan. No dishonor meant to anybody, dead or alive, by my presence. Oop. Okay. Okay. Great. Well, they didn't tell me much, except I can see... It's interesting that they still think of themselves, right? They still consider themselves faithful to Gondor, right? Still calling out Gondorian battle cries and attacking me in the name of Gondor, right? So, but they talk about their foolishness and that Cirion would never find out, but he did. So, Okay, oops. Looks like having completed these quests, I think I'm done with my time for today. All right, Idmar, let's see. All right.
What business have you with the Rohirrim?
Yes, Medwin and I have seen this. You might want to recall Medwin. I think he needs a nap. But anyway, you don't believe it. They must be men of Gondor. Yeah, no, exactly. Why would they have returned? Good question. The battle fought on this field long ago was a victory. Well, yes, it was a victory. A victory that granted to our kindred all of Rohan. Yes, but remember, they were losing when you rescued them. So, okay, all right. You need to think. You think about it. Then we can compare notes.
What brings you to these lands?
One mentioned Cirion. Yeah, very suggestively. They must have fought for Gondor at the Battle of the Field of Celebrant. Absolutely. Right, you're going to tell me the Earl of the Young story. Sure. It was a glorious moment in our past and paved the way for the formation of I know, right? But how did these men come to be cursed? That battle was won and Gondor was saved. Take this. I think we may need to approach this differently now. Oh, what are you giving me? Something's not my loot, is it? No. Ooh, a loot box. Okay, Edmar.
Will you aid the Horse Lords?
Yeah, I don't know if they'll remain at rest either. I have to admit, I really don't know the utility of killing undead spirits.
Will you aid
Okay,
the Rohirrim?
get a plan. Let's see. I've been great aid. Hey, no problem. Don't mention it. They must have a leader nestled deep within their forces. Judging by the size, I would guess he lurks among the spirits of his men to the west. Sure. Okay, take the symbol of your people. Hopefully he can recall the battle and remember that the horsemen of the north once saved his people from certain defeat. Right, yeah. Remember Eorl the Young? Then you might want to talk to me. Good plan. Find out what he knows and why his men have returned if I can. Okay. Cool. Cool. Find a clue to the Shade Captain's whereabouts. Okay. Let's hope the clue is in the shape of a skull nailed to a tree with a sword. That's my hope. Okay. All right. I should I should head out. Thanks for joining me. And yeah, as you guys were asking, let me just pause for a second here at the end to kind of sum up about the upcoming moots, because there is some exciting stuff, and I didn't get a chance to tell you about one thing. So we do have our next two Signum regional moots. For those of you who don't know, we do these one-day regional conferences, which we've been doing all over the country and the world that we can. We've been expanding very greatly this past year, and it's been awesome. Really cool, inexpensive one-day events where you can come hang out with awesome people and talk about Tolkien and science fiction and fantasy all day. It's really, really neat. I was just talking about some of the conversations we were having at TexMoot last weekend, which was absolutely fantastic. So good to meet several of you at TexMoot. So anyhow, we have our next two regional moots are in Orlando, Florida, or near Orlando, Florida, and in the Netherlands, in Leiden, in the Netherlands. So the Sunshine Moot, which is in Orlando, is going to be on the 23rd of March, and Nader Moot, which is in the Netherlands, is on the 13th of April in Leiden. As I say, registration will be open for those very soon, so you'll be able to secure your tickets and arrange to get there. The other thing people were asking about was talking about the Morgan exhibit in New York, which is going to be really, really good. So for those of you who heard about this, there was that huge exhibit of Tolkien's stuff, Tolkien's art, and some of his papers and things at the Bodleian Library in Oxford. And Druid's Fires just posted the link again to the Morgan exhibit. Most of that, not all, but most of that has traveled over here to America and is being exhibited now at the Morgan Library in New York City. There are going to be several events. I'm going to be there at least twice over the next few months. The big event that I'm planning to go to is the New York City Tolkien Conference is holding an event there on the weekend of the 17th of March. And we are... we're going to do, so Signum is going to, we're not doing a regular Signum Moot because there are already conferences going on, and we just decided we'd rather just kind of join forces and have a bigger, cooler event. So New York City Tolkien Conference is organizing an event. I'm planning to go and attend that, and we're also going to do a moot up, as we're calling it. So it's like a meetup. It's kind of like a meetup, but it's kind of like a moot, and it's neither one, right? So we're going to have a get together on the evening after that conference for just hanging out, get together and have a pint. We'll see the Tolkien stuff together, go to the conference together, then go out and have a pint afterwards and get to see each other for a bit. So that's definitely going to be happening. More details on that will be available. If you are interested in joining us at our Signum meetup, you can go to the Mythgard Facebook page, and there should be a link on there's a separate Facebook page that's been made up for people who are interested in doing this. So I would direct your attention to that, and you can join us if you can join us there in New York. And there's also another thing. So I'm doing a talk down in New York on the 12th of February. So that's just in a couple weeks. It's a Tuesday night, the 12th of February. I will be at the Sheen Center, Sheen. You can look that up, the Sheen Center. And I'm going to be moderating a panel discussion on the exhibit. So I'm going to be the moderator. The curator of the exhibit is going to be there, and Holly Ordway, who's a wonderful Tolkien scholar, she's going to be there too. So the three of us are going to be having a conversation about the exhibit, about some of Tolkien's pieces and works, and thinking about his visual art and his visual representations of things, some of the things that are being displayed, and talking about his works. It's going to be a really fun conversation. That's a ticketed event. I think it's like $20 for that event or something. And there are limited tickets there. So I'd encourage you to go to the Sheen Center, Sheen, go to their webpage, and you can get tickets for that event as well. And then again, I'll be back again down in New York in March to go to the New York Tolkien Conference and to have our moot up in conjunction with that. So again, more details on that to follow. But in general, that's what's going to be happening. So you can kind of reserve that weekend or plan that weekend for your trip to New York. If you're planning a trip to New York to see the exhibit, which I strongly recommend if you can do it, try to plan it for the week for that weekend, the weekend of the New York Tolkien Conference, and we can see it together and hang out, and it'll be awesome. Anyway, so those are among the awesome things that are happening over the next several months here. And also, don't forget, Mythmoot registration is open. The Mythmoot 6, our big event of the year, our big 3-day conference in the Washington, D.C. area. It's in Leesburg, Virginia, right near Dulles Airport. It's going to be between the 27th and the 30th of June. So that's going to be, Mythmoot is just awesome. And you can meet Valori, who is, she's on, she's one of the Girls of Middle-earth on our Twitch channel. She helps me on exploring the Lord of the Rings. She was running our Room of Requirement last year, so we had like stations up for people to be able to play LOTRO and stuff. The Room of Requirement is like this separate room that we have when people need to like retreat from like the socializing at the conference and kind of do their own thing. So we have like arts and crafts and books to read and books to swap and stations where you can play and all kinds of really cool things. So it's really fun. Anyhow, yeah, signumuniversity.org/mythmoot is indeed the page for that. Druid's Fire, thanks for that again. So that's the registration just opened for that. So that's a big deal. Rowan of Gondor, absolutely. A game night in there would be really awesome. Rowan of Gondor, one of the down things was that the guy who was our number one game master, our number one Signum game master, who sort of specializes in the One Ring RPG games, wasn't able to come to Mythmoot last year for the very good reason that, his wife was having a baby like that week, so he couldn't come. But he is planning to be there this year. So hopefully I would love to have him be able to run a one-shot again of the One Ring and to play. I actually have a character, Wigand, who was created in his campaign because I got to play a session with him, and he's been continuing to run my character Wigand as an NPC in the weekly campaign that he's been running. So I'll have to see if I can get my my Wigand character in his campaign and see if we can take him back out again during Mythmoot this year. It'd be really fun. Anyhow, so much stuff going on at Mythmoot. It's going to be awesome. Those are events that are coming up. Thanks. Sorry, Druid's Fire, for poaching 5 minutes of your time to do announcements, but a bunch of people were asking, and I know many people have been wanting to know more details on some of this upcoming stuff, so I wanted to make sure to tell you. Thanks for joining me today. I will see you guys next week. I should be back as usual next week. The week after, February 8th, maybe a little tricky, but I think I'll be here then. I'm not going to be out of town, but my son is getting his wisdom teeth removed that morning. I think we'll be back before my Gryfflet time. But anyway, I'll certainly be here next week. Thanks very much. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining me. Bye now. Thanks for joining in on my rambles around Standing Stone's brilliant digital adaptation of Tolkien's world. If you enjoy these adventures, please consider supporting this and other entertaining educational programming by donating at signumuniversity.org/fund.